to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kiro Show here. Now then, this is going to be difficult to do. That is saying something. Especially because I researched this for 3 hours to 4 hours and actually talked to people in my Discord last night. And holy shit. Becoming a Space Marine is not easy. And I mean that in the most badass way possible. These guys are basically, what can we find to break you, and then break its thing to break. And so on and so on for probably like 10 to 20 times. They find that your breaking points have breaking points. And just shatter those. These guys are fucking amazing. And another thing. I have 3 things picked out for the 2K special. And I actually have been wanting to do these what ifs for quite a while. I don't think anyone has done them and or have done a variant of I plan on doing of them. So I'll be making trailers for those 3. But you guys can feel free to leave comments on what you would like me to do for a what if in those comments. And on this one. And I can write them down and put them in the cup. Okay. Now then, in saying that, let us begin. Okay. So, let's get a good explanation as to how there are Space Marines on this variant of Earth. This variant of Earth, the Space Marines, they take place in the 41st to 42nd century. They are pretty far in the future. However, in this variant of Earth, or timeline, the Space Marines, they are going to be basically a before thing before us. They've existed long before us. And they are actually able to go into a cryostasis. So, let us say that after the Horus Heresy, I believe it's called, I'm still new to this, that there was this chapter of Blood Angels. They froze themselves and tried to preserve themselves in case the Horus Heresy may have won. And or in the event that they needed to be, the last chapter. They froze themselves and parts of their gene seeds. The gene seed is basically what makes a Space Marine. Now, after this happened, there would be a war and or a total collapse of the Empire. The Imperial of Man would fall, separating into, I would say chapters, but they were already chapters. They would just fall and descend into madness. Basically, they would believe that the 4 gods of chaos have won. And it would be an all-out brawl for themselves. Certain chapters we were just left. They left because they wanted to find a cure and or way to help the Emperor. While other chapters, they stayed behind. To fight and actually take down these rogues. Now, eventually, that time would pass. And the Earth, and or what's left of its population, they would slowly start to rebuild. They would start to tell legends and or stories of the Space Marines. The warriors from the stars, as they call them. They were men, they were humans, but they were able to ascend to qualities people never even imagined. You can shoot one point blank in the face if you wanted to. And all it would do is make it angry. These men were just monsters. God among men, as people called them. There were shrines built for them. They were basically worshipped. Now, Space Marines, they would not like that. But The other ones left are the Blood Angels. Now then, Earth would go through this dark age where information is forgotten. The Space Marines falling into legend and or the realm of myths. And, well, Earth would eventually reach the technological point again. And the Space Marines that are in stasis, they would, well, finally be awakened. Now, they are awakened because of an emergency alert. It is believed that the Emperor may have just died. Now, when they are awakened, they awaken in the Himalayan mountains. And they would go to check on him. This is the Emperor's main gene lab. He has developed different genes and things to keep the human population and or blood angels and or not blood angels to keep the Space Marines alive. Now, they would have come to find that there is a last rogue chapter. The ones who are guarding the Emperor, they have sadly passed, died in battle. Now, the Emperor, he is dead. Now, the Blood Marines, they would have gotten mad. Or the Blood Angels. They would have gotten mad and they would attack and destroy this last chapter, since the battle did already leave them weakened. And they were using their apothecaries to heal, not expecting to be attacked again. Now then, the Blood Angels, they would understand this heavy hit, thinking that they need to send out emergency transmissions to anywhere in the world they can, and or into space. This is 100 to 200 years, if not 300 before My Hero Academia. Space Marines, they don't age like normal people. From what I have researched, apparently they can hold the line for 10,000 years, which I don't believe to be true, but it would not surprise me, since these guys basically don't need to sleep. Now, with that being said, they would be sending out transmissions and finding that they don't get anything back. They're not sure what to do about this. They're not sure if they are the last chapter or if they are quite simply too far away. Basically out of range of any transmission they can try and even throw out there. So they would try to begin to rebuild. Now let us cut to 300 to 200 years later, with Izuku Midoriya being born. Midoriya, he is born, and well, as you may know, he is quirkless. As soon as Deku is born, he would go through his life, somewhat like normal. He goes through it normally where he tries to impress people he tries to protect, and he shows that drive and determination to be a hero. Until one fateful day, he finds that he is quirkless. Now, as soon as Deku finds that out, it devastates him. It is the biggest punch to his gut and or pride he can even think of. He can't be a hero without a quirk. But that's not what hurts him more. It's what happens next. His mom, she decides that she kinda can't do this. She thought Izuku would have her quirk. But this is just bad. Not even that, with Hasashi working overseas just to support her and him, that's not going to work. So, she would decide that her best course of action for Hasashi to come home and actually get a proper job there would be to make a very rash decision. Drop Izuku off at an orphanage. Since, well, being quirkless in this society is not good. He is basically far safer behind walls, thick enough to hide him. Now, Deku, he wouldn't really understand this decision. He's kind of just standing there crying and trying to figure this all out. Until one of the nuns at the orphanage would kind of just respond to the door. They hear crying and they think it was a baby. But it was this young boy, which kind of confused them. They would ask him his name, and he would give it to them. Now, this is where Deku, he would be taken in, and somewhat see these harsh conditions. He knows that this is, well, bad. So, exactly what's going to happen here? Now, Deku, he makes friends and actually talks to a lot of other kids at the orphanage, seeing that if they are simply like him, then they were abandoned. So, he actually does get along with some of them fine. They are all just, well, the same. Put in the same boat. So they can all relate. Now, with that being said, this is whenever the father would arrive. Now, I'm talking about the priest. He would have come back to the church today, since he was out of country for a while. This man, he seems to be very huge and, well, big. He seems like his quirk could just quite simply be described as just by looking at him. It's insane. Because, well, this is how huge these people are. Now, along with that, Deku, he can just quite simply just stares up at the man, and he would ask him one question. Mister, why aren't you a hero? Hmm? What was that, young boy? I'm sorry, sir, but why aren't you a hero? You seem like you could be a really good one. You're big and strong. Hmm. Well, my boy, the answer is quite simple. There are plenty of heroes. I do not wish to be one. I just wish to seek the betterment of all mankind. And I actually do love to see things grow around me. People grow, their faith, their desires, and their dreams. But you must keep that in mind. For you must have a peacekeeper. Otherwise, the world can fall into darkness. When Deku's just a bit confused by what this man is saying. But the man would just quite simply bend down, saying that you must be ready for any challenge that comes towards you. I understand you were just dropped off here 2 months ago, correct? As Deku would nod, looking down a bit sad. Well, young man, what if I told you there's still a way you can become a hero? Deku's eyes would widen for a minute, asking exactly what do they mean. The man would quite simply just say to Deku that they plan on moving the church somewhere else. They plan to actually see where they can go and what they need to do. Since this place, it is not correct. Now, Deku would watch as the man, he actually does stand back up. He would see Deku's face go from somewhat sour and sad to determined and somewhat smiling. As the man, he would bring his giant hand up and just basically mess up Deku's hair, saying that, young man, we will be doing that soon. Now, for now, just please keep on your studies. As Deku, he would just shake his head and run back over, joining the other children for learning what they need to, since they can't really go to school. Now, with that being said, 2 to 3 months would pass, and the Father of the church, he has been talking with the nuns. The nuns are quite aware of what's happening. They are not held in the dark. They understand that this is for the Imperium of Man, to rebuild once again. So, they must honor the Emperor's wishes. Now, the entire church will be packed up, and the children will be moved. As they would basically walk onto this weird looking, well, spacecraft. They've never seen it before. Exactly where are they? Now, as soon as the Marines, they would all walk on board, they would quite simply just instruct them to get the children strapped in. As they would have done so, immediately using a warp drive to get themselves out of the Milky Way solar system, or not solar system, out of our solar system, and jumping to the nearest next one with a viable planet. As they would arrive to an old outpost. It is abandoned, it is dreary, and it is destroyed. It is barely left standing. Now, the Marines, they would have walked out. As they are wearing their armor, they are checking to see if this planet is still viable. Some of them have been to this planet before, for training and for exercises. The planet seems to still be good and viable and breathable, so they would have waved out to everyone else. They would have all walked out as Deku he looks around. This place looks like what he's seen in a medieval book before. Destroyed, it's different though. It's real, he's standing here. The trees over there, they look different. They look so colorful. Now, all the children are taking in this sight. And the Space Marines would just instruct them to basically stay with the sisters. As they would start separating in different directions. One Marine actually staying there. While the sisters of the church, they are watching the children. This one is just staying here to guard them, in case anything actually will happen. Now, the other 9, they would have separated. Since they are battle brothers, they know exactly what they need to do. As they would spend the next few days scavenging and actually searching the planets. Until the Marine that's basically, sat motionless for 10 days, and or a week, has stood back up and started moving once again. He instructs them all to get back onto the ship, which they would do. As they begin to go around the planet picking up the rest of the Marines, and head to a new location. This place seems to be in far better condition, because it actually does have some standing buildings left. Which Deku kinda is surprised by. He doesn't really know where they are. This is like no jungle he's ever seen. To which Deku would finally ask the question. All the children seem to have just been, scared and not really talkative to these Space Marines. As there is one small voice that breaks the silence. Excuse me, mister? As a giant towering Marine would just turn his head, looking down at Deku. Deku's somewhat just hesitating for a second before he just calms down. And says, "Where are we? This place doesn't look like anything I've ever seen." "Well, young man, that is because we are not on Earth anymore." Which all the children somewhat are confused by. They've left Earth? Wait, they haven't been on Earth for a while. What? No. This is whenever the Space Marines just instruct them that they are going to be doing training. And this is where things are going to be different. You will need to understand, this will be your biggest challenge. If you are able to do this, then you will all be successful. The Emperor may have passed, but his light will shine through you. Now, with that being said, the Space Marines, they would drop off the children and the nuns, leaving them with quite a bit of food. As one Marine, he would just be left at the planets. And the other 9 would leave, heading back for Earth to go get more. They need to properly train these children so that they may become part of the Imperium of Man and help rebuild their cause. Now then, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an amazing day. This is going to be my hardest what if to do.